it's time to take a look in depth now at what's making news this morning, and we're joined by Executive Director from the Australia Institute, Dr. Richard Dennis from Canberra. Richard, thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning.
So the first story you're taking a look at today is about salmon farming. This has certainly been in the news for quite a while. What's going on there?
Look, unfortunately for the Prime Minister, soon after making a $30 million commitment to keep the salmon farming industry going in Tasmania, we've seen horrific footage of tens of thousands of fish washing up and fat from fish washing up on beaches in Tasmania in what is, a disaster for animal welfare, a disaster for the environment, but also a disaster for the clean, green image of salmon farming in Tasmania. And of course, all this is taking place at a time when the Environment Minister, Tanya Plibersek, is being asked the important question as Minister, should we continue to farm salmon near the critically endangered Maugean skate? And we've just learned, and the ABC's just reported, that the Canadians have just announced that they're going to abandon this form of open pen fish farming just because it is so dangerous and dirty.
Yeah, Richard, it's an interesting topic, particularly as we approach an election, and some parts of Tasmania could be quite important to that. But staying with the electoral theme, this second story you've selected for us in The Age, Dutton digs in over trust and shares. Tell us about it.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, Peter Dutton's not the first very wealthy person to want to be Prime Minister of Australia, but it turns out that he hasn't been very diligent in keeping his register of parliamentary and of his assets up to date. But what I think is really interesting here is he's saying it doesn't matter that I made all these disclosures badly years ago. It doesn't matter that I failed to disclose on time. They're okay now. Well, that's the exact opposite of how we treat people on welfare. That's the exact opposite of what happened with Robodebt, where we saw the government that he was a senior cabinet minister in going back 7 years and saying, you didn't tell us exactly what was going on, so we can breach you for that. So whether it's okay that he's finally done his homework or not is a question for voters. But, the principle here is when it comes to welfare, we want to know exactly what your assets are and you better get your forms in on time, whereas he's saying, oh, you don't need to know how rich I am, and it doesn't matter whether I got my forms in on time or even disclosed certain transactions at all.
Richard, the next topic you've picked is from the Herald Sun, and this is regarding money for Victoria for a couple of major infrastructure projects. What's going on there?
Well, I think an election's coming up, isn't it? And,
really?
Yeah, but look, that's what elections are about, isn't it? Elections are about people seeking office, political parties or independents, saying, if you vote for me, here's what you'd get. And you've got the federal Labor government saying, if you vote for us, you're going to get new infrastructure in Victoria. That's off the back of last week them saying, if you vote for us, we're going to make it a lot cheaper for you to go to the doctor. I think what's interesting here is that when votes are up for grabs, when politicians are actually seeking the approval of voters, they're far more likely to say, hey, can I make your life better? Can I offer to spend more on the services and the infrastructure you need? So it'll be interesting to see how the opposition deals with this. Obviously, the opposition very quickly said, oh, yeah, that's a great idea about Medicare. We want to spend more money on health too. Be interesting to see whether they follow Labor on infrastructure or not.
Will be an interesting one, Richard. And it's interesting, I think, even locally here in Victoria, they'll deny there's a split between the Federal Labor Party and the state one, but there does seem to be kind of differing priorities about which project should come first and where that sits in the priority order.
Oh, look, I'm not surprised there. They're different governments. They've got different challenges, and one's very close to an election and one's a lot further away.
No, that's a good point. All right, Richard Dennis from the Australia Institute. Lovely to have you on the show. Always good to see you looking so healthy.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoy our videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button to get notified when we publish a new one. See you next time.